I should have known something was off the moment I walked into Spin Cycle 24/7. Not because of the flickering neon sign that buzzed like it had a grudge against silence, or the way the air inside smelled like wet coins and old soap. No, it was the woman behind the counter, an elderly lady with clouded eyes who smiled just a little too wide when she said, "You're the new night shift, aren't you?" I hadn't even introduced myself. To back up a bit, I was broke. My last gig at the gas station ended in flames, literally. A pump malfunctioned, someone panicked with a lit cigarette, and now the place was a blackened husk and I was unemployed. So, when I saw the handwritten ad taped to the corner store window, "Help wanted, overnight laundry attendant, cash paid nightly, no experience required." I called the number and took the job on the spot. Didn't even ask the pay. That's how desperate I was. I got there just before midnight. The laundromat was nestled between a pawn shop and a boarded-up bookstore on the edge of town. One of those places that seems stuck in a different decade, with yellow linoleum floors and candy machines no one's refilled since the Clinton era. The walls were lined with battered washers and dryers, all tagged with peeling numbers and faded red marker. The old woman handed me a ring of keys and a folder. "You'll lock up at sunrise," she said, "and read the rules. All of them. No exceptions." She left before I could ask a single question. Didn't even get her name. I looked down at the folder. It was thick and stained, like it had been passed down from a long line of poor souls who took this job before me. Inside were 12 typed rules, each underlined in red ink. At the top, scrawled in shaky pen, was the phrase, "Do not disregard, even on slow nights." Rule number 1 caught my eye immediately. Never wash anything with blood stains after 2 a.m. The stains will spread. They are not yours. What the hell? I laughed out loud, thinking maybe this was some elaborate prank, like hazing the new guy with spooky rules. But the unease settled in quickly. There was something about the way it was written. Urgent but cold, like the warning wasn't meant to scare me. It was meant to keep me alive. I sat at the counter for a while, thumbing through the rest of the rules. They got weirder. Rule number 4. If a dryer turns on by itself, do not open it. Let it finish. Rule number 7. If someone enters without clothes, don't ask questions. Just give them detergent and keep your eyes low. Rule number 11. Never look into machine number 09. Ever. Not even if something calls your name from inside. I shut the folder and looked around. The place was empty, the machines silent. Only the ticking wall clock and the buzz of that damned neon sign outside broke the stillness. I figured I'd clean the counters and check the coin slots. The old woman hadn't said much, and there wasn't exactly a training video, so I just did what felt right. Around 12:45 a.m., the front door jingled open. A man walked in, dragging a duffel bag that thumped against the floor like it was full of bricks. He didn't say a word, just headed straight for machine number 9. My throat dried instantly. He stood in front of it for what felt like an hour. Didn't load it, didn't open the door, just stared. I forced myself to look down at the rules again. 11. Never look into machine number 09. Not even if something calls your name. As if on cue, the man turned his head. Not all the way, just enough for me to see the side of his face. And he smiled. Except it wasn't a normal smile. His lips stretched wide, far too wide, revealing a mouth that seemed wrong. Too many teeth, too much gum. And his eyes? They weren't eyes. Just 2 deep sockets, hollow and glistening like polished obsidian. Then, clear as day, I heard it. My name. Eli. It came from machine number 09, soft, whispery, like it was testing the weight of the word. The man never moved, just stood there, smiling. I didn't move either. I sat there, eyes locked on the counter, heart hammering like a piston. I counted seconds, minutes. I don't even know how long I waited, but eventually, I heard the front door jingle again. When I finally dared to look up, the man was gone. The machine was still closed, and my name was still echoing in my head, as if it had been stitched into the static of the laundromat itself. I didn't sleep that day. I went home, sure, showered, ate, but my mind never really left the laundromat. It looped the night over and over. Machine number 9. That man's stretched grin, the voice that called my name from inside the drum. Even now, I can still hear it if I'm quiet long enough. Eli. I told myself I'd imagined it. Night shift hallucinations, sleep deprivation. Maybe I'd read that creepy rule and psyched myself out. But then I opened my duffel bag from the shift, and I found something that didn't belong to me. Tucked between my notebook and spare hoodie was a folded white towel. No stains, no label, perfectly clean but damp. The strange thing? It smelled like detergent, yes, but also earth, like soil after rain. I didn't remember packing it. I certainly hadn't used it. I threw it in my bathtub, still folded, and didn't touch it again. When I showed up for the second night, the laundromat looked the same. Same flickering neon, same humming lights, same laminated "no refunds" sign crookedly taped to the change machine. But the moment I stepped in, I noticed it. The floor had been mopped, except there were footprints, dozens of them, barefoot, small, like children, leading in messy, looping paths around the machines, and they were wet, still wet. I knelt down and touched one. My fingertip came back soaked in something cold and slick. I looked up. There were no customers. There hadn't been anyone in here for hours. I backed behind the counter and took out the rule folder. I needed to ground myself, remind myself that if I played by the book, I'd be safe. That's when I noticed someone had added a sticky note on the front. Different handwriting. Sloppy, fast. Don't mop the floors. That's her path. I blinked. Her? I opened the folder again, flipping through the rules. Nothing about footprints. Nothing about children. But something told me this wasn't new. I'd walked into a story halfway through, and the first few chapters were missing. I stuck to the main task: clean, restock detergent dispensers, empty lint traps. At 1:12 a.m., someone came in, a woman, maybe mid-30s, wearing a bathrobe and slippers. She looked dazed, like she'd sleepwalked here. Her eyes were open, but blank. She carried a single laundry basket with only one item inside: a wedding dress. It was yellowed, tattered, with a long veil hanging out the side like a trailing ghost. She walked straight to machine number 6. I watched silently as she loaded the dress and poured in detergent. But she didn't start the cycle. Instead, she sat on the floor, right there, cross-legged in front of the machine, staring at it. Her eyes unfocused, mouth slack, like she was watching a fire consume something far away. Then she started whispering. At first, I thought it was humming. Then I caught the words. He never came back. He never came back. He never came back. Over and over. Her voice never rose. It stayed soft and flat, like she wasn't even speaking to me, or to herself, just repeating something she'd said for years. I pulled out the rule folder again. There it was, near the bottom. Rule number 10. If someone washes a wedding dress, let 'em. Don't interrupt. Don't speak. Don't watch the rinse cycle. As I read it, the washing machine clunked loudly. The building shook. The lights flickered. I ducked behind the counter. The sounds that followed were wrong. There's no other word for it. I've worked around machines my whole life. I know what a drum sounds like, what a spin cycle is, but this wasn't spinning. It growled. The metal vibrated like something was trying to push out from the inside, like something with teeth. The woman didn't move, just kept whispering. Then silence. When I peeked up again, she was gone. So was the dress. The machine was open, empty, and bone dry. But on the floor in front of it was a single object, a gold wedding ring. I didn't touch it. I didn't clean it. I just locked the machine's door, turned off the in-use light, and backed away. And I thought that was it. I thought maybe that was the worst of it. But around 3 a.m., something changed. The air grew heavier. The vents hissed louder, and that smell came back. The wet earth scent, the same one from the towel I found. I looked up at the monitors. One of the cameras, camera 3, pointed at the far row, was flickering. A figure stood by machine number 09 again. But this time, it wasn't the man with the smile. It was me. I stared at the flickering monitor, the grainy black and white footage looping the same 5 seconds like a broken VHS tape. Camera 3, row B, machine number 9, me. I was standing there on the screen. Same hoodie, same sneakers, same everything. But I wasn't behind the counter. I wasn't even moving. I was just watching, staring at the machine with a blank expression, arms limp at my sides like someone had hit the off switch on my body. Except I was right there in the real world, behind the desk, heart pounding in my throat, definitely not in front of machine number 09. I reached under the counter and unplugged the camera monitor. When I looked up, the live feed from camera 3 kept playing, unplugged, but I'm still running. I stepped away from the counter, hesitant. Part of me wanted to run outside, hurl the key ring into the storm drain and never come back. But another part of me, stupid, curious, masochistic, needed to see for myself. I walked toward machine number 9, each step heavier than the last. It felt like the room stretched with me, like the laundromat was subtly tilting its weight toward the back wall. The fluorescent lights buzzed louder the closer I got. The air grew denser, thicker, and colder. When I turned the corner and stepped into row B, I froze. There was no one there. No doppelganger, no shadow, no flickering glitch of me. Just machine number 9. Its rusting door closed and sealed tight with duct tape I hadn't put there. 3 thick strips, each one with something scratched into the surface in jagged, uneven handwriting. Do not open. I backed away. That was when the lights died. Not flickered, not dimmed. They died. The hum of electricity vanished, and for a second, I was standing in perfect, oppressive silence. Then the machines turned on. All of them. Every washer and dryer in the building roared to life. Doors locked, drums spinning, cycles running with no clothes inside. It sounded like a factory floor, deafening and angry. I stumbled backward, the strobing in-use lights from all the units casting ghostly flashes across the floor. The glass doors of each washer spun like frantic eyes. The folder of rules slipped out of my back pocket and hit the floor with a slap. Pages scattered. A fresh page fluttered across the linoleum toward me, one I hadn't seen before. It looked newer, different typeface, and at the top, written in deep red, addendum for those who've been seen. There were only 2 lines. If you see yourself on the monitor, leave immediately. You've already been marked. Do not look into the machines. They remember. A rhythmic clunk echoed behind me. I turned, slowly. Machine number 9. The duct tape was gone. The door had opened. Steam spilled out from inside, not warm, comforting steam, but wet, choking vapor that smelled like mildew and forgotten basements. And inside, clothes, a pile of soaking wet clothes, not just any clothes, mine, my shirt from yesterday, my jacket, my jeans, even the damp towel I'd found in my apartment was there, now tattered and threadbare. I stepped closer, despite every fiber in my body screaming to stop. My hand twitched toward the machine. Then the door slammed shut. So loud, I fell back against the opposite washer, and the spinning stopped. All the machines powered down at once. Silence returned with a slap, and the lights flickered back on as if nothing had happened. I sat on the floor for a long time, breathing, thinking, listening to my pulse trying to jackhammer its way through my ribs. Eventually, I stood up. The machines were all off now. Cold, empty, no sign of the clothes in machine number 9. I looked toward the front of the laundromat, and that's when I saw him again. The man with the stretched smile. He was standing outside in the dark, just beyond the reach of the flickering neon sign. Hands at his sides, still, silent, watching, and grinning. I ran to the doors and locked them. Deadbolt, latch, chain, then flipped the closed sign even though it was useless at that hour. When I turned around, the monitors were off, all except camera 3. It was playing again, but this time it wasn't me. It was the woman with the wedding dress. She was screaming, her mouth wide open, but no sound came through, just static, her arms flailing, her body banging against the inside of the washer, begging to be let out. Except the screen didn't show her getting in, and I'd watched her leave hours ago. Hadn't I? I couldn't move. The monitor kept playing her over and over. The woman with the wedding dress, thrashing inside the washing machine, eyes bulging, her mouth stretched open in a scream I couldn't hear. She wasn't wearing the robe anymore. No veil. Just the tattered dress, soaked and stained, her hands bloody from clawing at the glass. But the worst part? She was looking right at me, as if she knew I was watching, as if she'd been waiting for it. I unplugged the monitor again. This time, it actually shut off. The silence afterward was unbearable. Not peaceful, just wrong. Like I was between heartbeats and the next sound would tip something loose in the world. I sat on the stool behind the counter, my body humming with fear, and pulled the rule folder into my lap. I needed answers, but I didn't open it right away. Instead, I stared at the front doors. The man was gone. Or maybe he never left. I don't know anymore. The glass in this place reflects things that aren't there, or things that might be there. Shadows curve wrong. Neon reflections stretch too far. Every surface shows something you didn't want to see. When I finally opened the folder, I found something new again. Another note. Same frantic handwriting as the sticky note from last night. The rules won't save you forever. They just buy time. The laundromat chooses who it keeps. I turned the page. Some of the rules had changed. Literally. Rule number 4, the one about dryers turning on by themselves. It now read, if a dryer starts on its own, do not unplug it. Do not approach. Someone is inside. Let them finish. Rule number 10, about wedding dresses, gone. Completely erased. White out over the paragraph like it never existed. New rule added at the bottom of the page. Rule number 13. If the soap dispenser starts leaking red, leave immediately. You won't get another warning. That wasn't the worst of it. The folder smelled like the inside of machine number 09 now. That same damp, earthy scent. Like something buried had been disturbed. and the pages were damp, ink smudged. A few of the rules were unreadable, melted like old photographs in the rain. I looked up, and the soap dispenser on the far wall began to drip. Not white, red. I didn't leave. I should have. I really should have. But instead, I grabbed the mop, yes, the same mop I'd been warned not to use, and made my way across the floor, as if cleaning would somehow undo whatever this place had already decided for me. The red liquid wasn't soap. It was thick, metallic smelling. I dipped the mop in to test it, and the mop head turned black. As I stared, the wall behind the dispenser pulsed, like a heartbeat. The red liquid seeped from the seams in the tile now, threading down like veins. "You've been marked," I whispered aloud, remembering the addendum page. My head throbbed, my hands were shaking, and the mop melted in my grip. I dropped the handle and stumbled back. Somewhere in the distance, one of the dryers powered on. I checked the display. Dryer 13. That machine hadn't worked since I started. Half the front panel was missing. I'd seen it. Wires ripped out, drum misaligned, the works. It was dead. But now, the inside glowed, not like a bulb or a lamp, like a firelight, orange-red, flickering across the room. And the sound wasn't spinning, it wasn't mechanical, it was whispering, like a crowd in the walls, breathing, chanting. I stepped closer without realizing it, drawn, hypnotized. There was something moving inside the drum, slowly, something reaching, just a hand, pale, slender fingers, tapping against the inside of the door, not begging, inviting. And then I heard the voice again. But it wasn't coming from the dryer. It was coming from behind me. "Eli." I turned around fast. There was no one there, but I had turned my back on the dryer, and the rule folder slammed shut on the counter with enough force to knock the stool over. When I looked down, all the rules were gone. The pages are blank, every single one. I stared at the rule folder, flipping through blank page after blank page, my hands trembling. The pages weren't just empty, they were soaked, waterlogged like they'd been pulled from the bottom of a lake. The corners were curling. The ink had bled into nothing. Every rule I had relied on was gone. And somehow, I knew the laundromat had done it on purpose. It was testing me, peeling away the safety nets, one by one. I closed the folder and set it aside. It squelched wetly against the counter. I could barely think. My head was a hive of static, and my heart hadn't stopped its frantic knocking since the dryer came to life. Dryer 13 had stopped running. I hadn't heard it end. I just realized, all at once, that the sound was gone. The drum door was slightly ajar now, like a mouth half open, waiting to speak again. I didn't go near it. Instead, I returned to the front counter and tried to focus. I did the only thing I could do, pretend like this was still a normal job. I wiped down the soap dispensers, checked the coin slots. I avoided machine number 9. I avoided the cameras. I avoided the mirrors and the walls and the reflections in the glass because they kept twitching when I wasn't looking directly at them. At 2:15 a.m., the front door chimed. A little girl walked in, alone, maybe 7 or 8, pale skin, damp black hair plastered to her forehead. She was barefoot, dragging a stuffed rabbit behind her by the ear. The rabbit's fabric was threadbare and dark with old stains. She walked straight to the vending machine and just stood there, not moving, not even blinking. I didn't ask her name. I didn't call the police. Something deep in my gut told me not to interfere. Instead, I ducked behind the counter and grabbed the rule folder out of instinct. But of course, it was still blank. Water dripped from its spine onto my shoes. When I looked up again, the girl was gone. but the vending machine had lit up on its own. C3 blinked red on the keypad. That slot had been empty since I started. I stepped out slowly, inching toward the machine. Inside the C3 compartment, where there should have been a pack of gum or a crumpled candy bar, was a photograph. I pressed the release. It dropped into the tray like a dead leaf. I picked it up. It was a picture of me, taken from outside the laundromat. I was inside, sitting behind the counter, completely unaware I was being watched. The timestamp on the bottom corner, yesterday, 3:33 a.m. I didn't remember that moment. I didn't remember being watched. I didn't remember a camera. But there was something else in the photo too. In the window behind me, just visible in the reflection, was the little girl, standing outside, smiling, holding the rabbit. Behind her, in the distance, was a towering figure, the man with the stretched mouth. My hands went cold. I shoved the photo into my pocket and backed away. The lights dimmed, all of them. A single fluorescent above machine number 09 flickered violently. Then came the sound again, the same soft tap, tap, tap I'd heard before. From inside the drum, 3 knocks, then silence. 3 knocks again, slower this time. I turned toward it, even though I didn't want to. The door was closed, but the glass had fogged up like something warm was inside. A palm print smeared against the inside, then another, dozens of them. Then they started to move. I took a step back. The taps turned into pounding. Whatever was inside wanted out now. The glass strained, groaned. I watched in horror as a thin crack spidered across the surface. It pulsed with light, and behind the fog, I saw something shifting. A face. Mine. Except it wasn't me. It was wrong. Eyes black and endless, skin too pale. And the smile. God, the smile was the same as the men. Like it had been borrowed. I turned and ran. Straight out the front doors. Didn't grab the mop. Didn't lock up. Didn't even grab the key ring. The air outside hit me like ice, but I didn't stop running until I reached the end of the block. When I turned around, the laundromat was gone. Just an empty lot. No building, no neon sign, no front door, no windows, just dirt and cracked pavement and the soft sound of wind through the chain-link fence. And in my pocket, the photograph was dry. I stood in that empty lot until sunrise. Not because I was frozen or scared, though I was both, but because I needed the sun to rise. I needed proof that time still worked, that I hadn't been folded into the same night on repeat like a dryer set to forever. And when that first streak of light split the sky, painting the cracked concrete in gold and gray, I finally breathed again. But it didn't feel like relief. It felt like permission. The laundromat was gone. No rubble, no debris, just an open patch of dirt and weeds, like the building had been lifted clean off the earth. Even the sidewalk out front was unbroken, like nothing had ever occupied the space at all. But I knew better. I had the photograph in my pocket. I pulled it out as the morning chill melted. It hadn't changed. Still showed me behind the counter, unaware. Still showed the girl. Still showed him. And now, there was something new. In the corner of the photo, faint and distant, a second version of me standing outside watching the scene through the glass, the same way I'd stared at that monitor on night 1. I hadn't noticed it before, because it hadn't been there before. I don't remember how I got home. The day passed in fragments, hollow, echoing thoughts, TV static, half a sandwich left untouched on the kitchen counter. I didn't sleep. I didn't blink. I just sat on my couch with the photo on my lap, flipping it over again and again like it would somehow rewrite itself if I stared hard enough. That night, I locked every door, closed every curtain. Still, I heard it. 3 knocks on the dryer in my building's laundry room. Faint but deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. I don't even have a dryer. I went down anyway. The door was ajar. The old machine rattled even though no one had turned it on. I opened it. Inside was a towel. White, damp, the smell of soil and ash, just like before. I left it there. That should have been the end, right? But the rules of this thing, this place, whatever it was, don't care about logic. They don't care about closure. The next day, a letter came in the mail. No return address, no stamp, just a single piece of paper. Typed. Thank you for completing your trial period. Welcome to the cycle. There was a new set of rules attached. Only 3. Do not attempt to locate the laundromat again. It will find you. If someone brings you an item of clothing that doesn't belong to them, burn it. If you hear your name coming from inside a machine, never respond. Unless it's your voice that calls you. Unless it's my voice. That line still echoes. Because last night, I did hear it again. I was brushing my teeth, steam fogging the mirror, when I heard my voice, my exact voice, say from behind me, "Eli, we left something spinning." I dropped the toothbrush, didn't look up, didn't turn around, because I knew, somehow, absolutely, that the mirror wouldn't show me alone, that there'd be another version of me there, the one that smiled too wide, the one with the damp sleeves and the smell of bleach in his hair, the one that got out of machine number 9. Because maybe I didn't. Maybe that wasn't me who ran out. Maybe the version that made it home is the one who watched, not the one who escaped. Or maybe there was never a difference. Maybe that's the joke. Maybe that's the cycle. Today, I found another rule. Not on paper, not in a folder, just etched into the inside of my closet door, scrawled in something that looked like detergent dried into resin. You can't wash out what isn't dirt. And maybe that's the truth. Maybe the stains I carry now, the nightmares, the voices, the smell of mildew that follows me into every room, aren't just in my clothes. Maybe they're in me. Because something was spinning in that laundromat long before I got there, and it's still spinning now.